Whoever was financially responsible for the company, which at this point I don't think was Eddie, because I think this is why now Eddie's in and having to go through every deal with a fine-tooth comb, is to figure out where the hell were all the mistakes made. And I don't think it's just the minimum order quantities. This is the way they've been operating all along. But clearly, whoever was the financial officer of the company made some severely
they embezzled
wrong
money.
turns to put this company into a cash poor situation. That's the only reason employees aren't being paid. That's the only reason contractors aren't being paid, or vendors. So I don't think this is not fixable, because I think what's unfortunately happened is I think Eddie got wind of all this too late. Like, the snowball was already just full speed down the hill, picking up people and trees and buildings as it goes. And it is now turned into like the largest Indiana Jones rolling stone ball that you could possibly imagine. It's like unstoppable at this point. But I don't think it's impossible to pull out from this, First and foremost, if there is a priority that needs to be had here, the employees need to be paid now. Our invoices and stuff are important, but I'm not demanding right now that we be paid before anyone else. Fortunately, I do not operate my company in a way that if a brand like this doesn't follow through, that it financially causes us problems. No, not in the least. So I can tell you right now that if paying us means an employee doesn't get paid, pay the employee, okay? You're still gonna owe us. That's not going anywhere. We're never just gonna forgive and forgive that invoice. You still have to pay us. But if paying us or paying Igor or whatever, in my opinion, I'll take that part out, because I don't know how Igor's financial situation is. He may need the money. He did a whole post about that. You guys can go and read it. I know Steve's gonna do a follow-up to this too, now that I'm on record, because I have no problems going on record. Employees need to be paid first. Then any other contractors that are directly responsible for keeping your business running, depending on what their role is. Do you know who also should not be being paid right now? Any C-level executive. No executive should be taking in pay right now, period. I hope to God the trip that we were waiting for executives to get back from to even discuss our invoice was not a luxury trip. Do you know what else looks really bad? A Computex booth, which they have already sent out invites for, because you know that's a minimum of 6 figures, plus travel, plus food per diem, plus the schmoozing, they're gonna try and do, because they always try and take people to dinners and parties and all that stuff. So it's probably too late for EK to get their money back if they've already paid for that booth. Dear God, EK, don't go to Computex. Trust me, the look is so bad. The damage from going to Computex will far outweigh any possible benefit of going. But my point is, the brand is known. Now it's known in a new way that needs to be repaired, and it can be repaired. I don't think EK is going to go out of business over this. I think they just have too much money tied up in other areas that needs to be truly untangled. And we won't even get into the emails regarding like the hatred and distaste that the Slovenia team seemed to have for the Americas team. Like, the level of disrespect internally, once that gets out, that is so hard to undo. Because guess what? Anything you say right now is going to be viewed in 2 ways. Damage control or doubling down. There's nothing EK can say right now that will do any of this. It's all got to be action. Action speaks louder than words, as cliche as that is. EK needs to pay its employees. And EK needs to stop paying its executives at this time. Number 1. Number 2, EK needs to severely rethink its own strategy regarding product, if they're truly stuck in a death spiral of MOQ hell. Number 3, EK might need to consider selling. I don't know if this particular executive level team can ever win back the trust of the community. In terms of product, the community has not been wronged. In terms of ethics, everyone has been wronged, because no brand gets to abuse its employees and its partners and get away with it.
I bet that's a good spot. Woman's intuition.
I'm the jump master, this time.
I like this spot. Let's land here. I like this spot. Let's find something good.
Attention. First blood.
First blood already. That's what happens when you get too excited. Enemy landed near me. They just can't resist me, can they?
Glass is fire. Glass is so bad. Such a pathetic end to what he built up with that. I thought Glass was awful. I can't remember if I moist metered it. I think I did. But that was when I was still way too nice to things. I think I gave that like a 50. You gave it a 60. God, I used to be so nice on the moist meters. Holy shit. You gave the Mummy 2017 a 50, which is crazy. Oh my god, that's so wild. I was so
All I have
nice
is
on the early
Mozambique.
moist meters. Check the moist meter website and go over your past reviews. That's not a bad idea. Let me see. Someone put them all there?
Craft one
Oh,
of these,
someone made a
these guns that are
.org
around
for
here.
it.
There's a Spitfire. There's no, don't get that one. There's a Spitfire.
I was way too nice on Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, though, I will say.
can only get
I think the
one.
main reason why I kind of gave it a little more than it deserves, I'd probably give it like a 50 now, but I gave it a 60 because I still had fun watching it with my parents. It's like the first movie we went to the movie theater to see together in a long time. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'd probably go lower, like a 30, 40-ish. I still put it on the worst movies of the 2023 list, though. But I definitely think that's way below 50. I don't know why I was so nice to it there. That was in 2023. The gloves had already come off. I don't know why I gave it a 50. All these are looking about right. Except for Thor. Whoa, 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 whoa. I drank a stupid potion on 7/7/2022. I gave Thor: Love and Thunder a 65. Who let me hit the crack pipe? That movie is trash. That's one of my least favorite Marvel movies, up there with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I cracked an enemy shield.
No, that can't be correct. I gave this a 65. Someone laced my popcorn with Fint.
Target over there.
What happened? What happened? Check the source material.
Shooting at me. I cracked an enemy shield.
I mean, they seem very thorough on this website here. I guess I did, but man, I don't know what came over me. Yeah, that one is baffling.
Watch out, enemy
Actually
there.
baffling that I gave it that high. Nowadays, logically, I'd definitely be putting that in the 30, 40-ish. Probably not, like 30, 35-ish. That movie is atrocious. It does, like, nothing right. I even remember some of the things I was saying in there were scathing. Why did I end up giving it a 65? Was it just because of that shit, the black and white on the planet? And Christian Bale, I thought, did a good job, but there's no way I'd let him carry me to a 65. Oh, this one's weird. This is in the other direction. I'd give the Batman a little more than 80. I think the main reason I did that is because I really thought the entire car chase sequence was fucking stupid. Like, it wasn't visually bad or anything, but it was really stupid narratively. I must have really let that affect me. That must have made me real mad at the time. Because everything else about that movie is great. Battlefield 2042 on launch was damn near unplayable. I ended up putting it on the worst game list. But I gave it a 65 because I believed that it'd be better by the end of the year. I kind of saw into the future and was very wrong about it. Holy shit, I gave Eternals a 60. What the fuck? 60 is fair, honestly. It is not. It's more like a 45. At the time, it was one of the worst MCU movies, but now we've definitely seen worse, so you're looking at it in hindsight like, I guess in Turtles wasn't that bad compared to things like Thor: Love and Thunder and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But it's still not good. It was also really nice to Venom Let There Be Carnage. I thought that was extraordinarily forgettable, so much so, in fact, that I barely remember anything from it. I gave Old a 60. What is wrong with me? Why did I give Old a 60?
Just giving my shields a recharge.
Oh, and even more insultingly, I put Black Widow on the third worst movie of the year, but I gave it a 70. What are my scores? What was I doing? What are these scores? These can't be right. There's no way. Because I remember even pointing out how fucking stupid the entire movie was, especially with the villain whose superpowers stink. He's stinky, so she can't hurt him. The scores just have, like, I must have just been pulling numbers out of my ass, or Jackson did me dirty or something. Jackson and I used to converse on these for a while, but nowadays he doesn't really see any new movies, so it's just me. Like, maybe that's what was happening here? I can't recall.
You're gonna have to
there's no
move,
way.
but you're good. Someone's coming.
That movie super sucks.
I'm spotted.
No, I know these linked to the video. Like, I have no doubt that he got this right. Like, this is what the score was. I'm just wondering why it would have been this. I remember hating this movie when I saw it. Like I said, though, it might have just been because Jackson and I used to do them together, and then just like meet on like where our scores matched, or meet like in the middle of our scores ish. So maybe that's what was going on. I don't know. That's crazy.
Just die so I can leave. This is fucking ridiculous.
I went like full-blown IGN.
Every time I try to fucking help my teammates,
All
this is
these
what
still
happens.
seem good to me.
Might as well just play solo. This.
Cold War. I don't know why I give Call of Duty Cold War a 70. Had a cool campaign,
Yeah, no
but
damn.
terrible multiplayer. I ended up putting like no time into the multiplayer.
I was supposed to do damage when I
That's
fucking had a
definitely too high
Mozambique
for
off the
Cold
rip when you were already fighting, you
As you should
fucking
check.
idiot.
Cyberpunk 2077 is 70.
Fucking
Yeah,
gave
that
you the
game barely
goddamn
worked
shit
on launch. I
so
had
you could
so many
launch
bugs
late
on my
instead you
playthrough.
fucking launch into
I
a
had so
fucking
many
fight.
problems with that game. It was very
Dumbass.
half-baked. Yeah, absolutely. It's great now. Cyberpunk is great now. But on launch, it was so bad that it actually got taken off of, was it PS3? Or, not PS3. No, actually. Yeah, it got taken off of the PlayStation Store because it would not work. PS4. Because it would not work on the PS4. Probably should have been lower, actually. I didn't weigh that hard enough. Marvel's Avengers is 65. Where's that? What is happening to me? Who am I? Who was I? Marvel's Avengers is 65. What was I? Jesus Christ. A 65 for that is terrible. Yeah, no, I hated that game. I didn't even... It had to be with Jackson, because like I said, we used to make these together. It had to be that we, like, compared our thoughts and met the score. 'Cause there's no way, in my right mind, I would have put that on a 65. That game sucked. I made fun of that game for so long, too. Like, it's so weird. I was, like, super harsh on something like Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which I actually liked, but was extremely nice to something like Marvel's Avengers that I fucking hated. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't add up.
I'm the jump master.
Mhm.
Leading the way.
Rise of Skywalker of 40. Yeah. That was dog shit. I'd probably drop it to like a 30, but it's not like outrageously high or anything. That's not something that's like catching my eye. Just some of these are either a little too...
Enough land. No. We drop it. Let's go that way.
Holy! That's gonna take 13 minutes! Oh my god. Stop! I'm already exhausted.
Energy ammo here.
Hi. Are you sure I can't drive on the road? That'd be so much faster. Oh, cardio, yeah, for real. But when they just
Spotted path.
drive
Remain
past
close.
me, bro! Dying. Uh-oh. It's bent! Wait, is it still gonna charge? Oh no.
The EK situation is worse than you can possibly imagine. Let's talk about it. Before that, this video is brought to you by VIPCDKdeals.com. CDK Deals is a website dedicated to getting you the best prices on games and software, and right now you can get a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for an insanely low price. Just find the best price and apply my special discount code GPC20 for an additional 30% off. You can also check out securely with PayPal, and once the payment is cleared, you should get access to the code both in your account as well as in your email. In order to activate the new copy of Windows 10, just search Activate under Windows and type type in your key. So if you want to learn more, be sure to click the link in the
Extended
description
light mag
below.
here.
Okay, so
Level 2.
just recently, Gamers Nexus actually dropped a whole video on EKWB, which if you don't know stands for EK Water Blocks, and as the name would suggest, they are a custom water cooling focused company who sells a ton of water blocks and various accessories for your water cooling needs. Now, they were originally established all the way back in 2003, and yeah, they've been a very, very successful company, or at least it seemed like they were a very successful company, as it seemed like anytime you talked about custom water cooling, you couldn't help but talk about EK. They were synonymous with custom water cooling, and I'm sure you've seen them just about everywhere. And to give them credit, a lot of their water blocks do look really nice. They've had genuinely some really good products out there on the market. And for that, hey, in my experience with them was definitely interesting. But today we get to learn about the downfall of EKWB as well. According to Gamers Nexus, they've got a ton of problems going on, and based on my experience with them, well, a lot of this makes a lot of sense. Now, according to Gamers Nexus, it looks like EK might be suffering from some financial problems, as apparently they owe money to employees, contractors, suppliers, and even governments. In fact, some of the debts are allegedly months to almost half a year overdue, and this isn't just him making stuff up. Apparently, he has not only some anonymous sources, but also somebody came out and said stuff on the record. And guys, that is not normal. And typically when something like this happens, there are some major issues going on, as anyone who goes on the record is seriously putting themselves out there for legal repercussions from the company they're speaking out about. So yeah, this seems like this is some pretty serious stuff. Now, the guy who went out there on record is actually Dan Henderson, who of course later received a cease and desist, demanding he delete information he had posted, pay them 70,000 euros for a breach of NDA, and basically be quiet as they asked him to no longer say anything defamatory against the company. Now, if you want to see more information about this, I will have Gamers Nexus's video linked in the description below. However, I do want to quickly touch on this whole cease and desist situation. I mean, obviously, if you sign an NDA, be very careful about what you say if you think that potentially it could be breaching the NDA. But in this case, I honestly don't know if they have any right to go after him. I mean, if what he's saying is true and they basically haven't been paying him for months on end, allegedly, well, yeah, if that's the case, then I don't see how this could be held up. And quite frankly, if that is true, this is not only shameful on the side of EK, but absolutely disgusting that not only would they essentially, at least in my opinion, according to alleged statements gathered by Gamers Nexus, basically be, you know, using their employees' funds as taking out a loan. That's what it feels like to me. I mean, do you know how absolutely ridiculous and disgusting that is? That is so far beyond not okay. That is absolutely ludicrous that any company could operate like that whatsoever. Guys, the average worker in the US right now, or even outside of the US, is not having a multi-million-dollar salary. They're just trying to pay their mortgage, get by, and maybe buy a few things here and there. You know, in the past, maybe the American dream was to have a huge house with a white picket fence, but these days it feels like the American dream is to be debt-free. They're just trying to pay their mortgage. You as the business owner have so much more flexibility with your funds, but in any case, let's move on before I continue to blow a gasket. According to some more information from Gamers Nexus, some of this might be occurring because they have a low supply of an enormous amount of products trying to be sold at high prices, and apparently this has caused a major issue. In fact, I think the prices are a really big issue because according to their information, it sounds like they have to have a minimum amount of orders from their suppliers to actually get the product, and so therefore all that product will sit on shelves as it's priced so high and it's so niche that they just simply can't sell through it in a good amount of time, leading to some serious financial problems. And this definitely makes sense to me because anytime I've gone to purchase an EK product, the prices have been absolutely ludicrously high, and in fact, sometimes on the secondhand market, it's like the only way I've been able to find certain things, and it's been even higher. And when I try and go to purchase something from their website, it seems like it's always like 2, 4, 8 weeks out, or it's just not in stock whatsoever. Their availability and pricing was just absolutely horrendous. But guys, it gets so much worse than that, because I wanted to take this as an opportunity to highlight just how bad of a situation not only EK is in, but quite frankly, the entire custom water cooling, well, business ecosystem. Now, I did talk about this kind of in a previous video, how I felt like custom water cooling probably wasn't worth it too much, and there was a bunch of different reasons as to why, but I want to go ahead and drive that point home and show you guys just how bad off this niche in the PC industry is right now. So first of all, just taking a look at Google Trends, you can see if you look at custom water cooling, that it did start out as a very, very niche hobby, and then it slowly gained more and more momentum until sometime around 2020 or 2021, it certainly did peak with the all-time amount of searches. However, today, searches on custom water cooling are at about 25% of what their peak was, so down 75% is an insane drop-off, and it looks like it's only plummeting further and further downwards. And so not only is EK seemingly being run absolutely insanely, and quite frankly, after this latest Gamers Nexus video exposing all of this information, I don't see them probably surviving for even another year. I would give them till the end of the year and this company is gone. Like, they're after that video from Gamers Nexus, they're done. It's like, it's over. I don't see how they come back from this unless they sell off a significant portion of the company or something. But to make matters worse, as I just showed you in that chart, it seems like this is a problem that's probably going to affect more than just EK. You know, whether or not you agree with the way they're running their company, I think a lot of various different companies, even ones that are run far more tightly, are going to run into some serious issues trying to operate as a larger scale custom water cooling company. In fact, I think the only ones that are probably going to end up surviving are going to be the ones that try and focus in on a certain small number of niche parts, probably water blocks only, or maybe they do only tubing, something like that, as having too wide of a net seems to be a major problem with the market, seems to be shrinking at a rapid rate. And it's honestly no surprise. I mean, not only is custom water cooling absolutely insanely expensive, I mean, trust me, I've done it in the past, it is wild how expensive it is to get into custom water cooling, but the returns these days are almost beyond diminishing. It's absolutely just a huge waste of your time and money. I'm sorry, I mean, unless you just really enjoy the art of it or the building aspect or making something that looks beautiful, outside of that, the practical use case for custom water cooling in 2024 is basically zero. I mean, outside of like very niche, like your delating an Intel CPU, max overclocking it with liquid metal on a water block. Sure, there are some niche applications where it can make sense, sort of. I mean, makes sense. That's already getting kind of ridiculous. But outside of that stuff, I mean, most of the GPUs coming out these days have really good coolers already. They're very quiet, they're very cool, and they get the job done to a point where I don't think you need to be ripping them off to be putting a water cooler on them. I mean, sure. Will it reduce the temperatures? Yes. Will it reduce the noise? Maybe, maybe not, because sometimes the actual pump noise itself is even louder than the air cooling as an alternative. In fact, the system behind me right now is doing all air right now for the first time ever, and it's actually the quietest system I've ever had. So really, what's the point of spending, how are we going to convince people to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on custom water cooling to get a system that's cooler, not any noticeably faster, since GPUs and CPUs are basically maxed out of the box these days, and might not even be quieter? And to make matters worse, draining and maintaining loop is a huge pain as well. And I'm done. I'm out on the custom water cooling, and I cannot recommend it to anybody unless you just absolutely love the process. So with that in mind, and the Google Trends stuff that I just showed you, and what's happening to EK, I think this is not only going to be the end for EK, but potentially the end for basically all large custom water cooling companies, unless they make a big shift in the way they do business. But hey, that's just what I think. Do you think that custom water cooling is going to be on the way out, or do you think that it's going to come back stronger than ever, and I'm just grasping at straws? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below, and of course, I'll see you in the next video.
If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and NVIDIA release new GPUs. Also, if you want to see more, check out one of these related videos. You won't be disappointed.
Have you ever wondered about the differences between a Docker container and a virtual machine and why that matters? Today I'll take you through what a VM is, what a Docker container is, and what the key differences are, and why you care. So strap in, hold on, and get ready to drink from the fire hose of knowledge.
to go.
Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to my shop. I'm Dave Plummer, a retired operating systems engineer from Microsoft, going back to the MS-DOS and Windows 95 days. Odds are that by now you've heard of both virtual machines and Docker containers, and you might even use one or both of them. But most folks still don't know the fundamental differences between them, and that's what we're going to explore today. Both cases let you take a bundle of software, including the operating system and all of your configured applications, and package them up in a reusable way. Big picture, a virtual machine runs a complete dedicated operating system installed just for your package, whereas a container runs side by side on your existing operating system, sharing resources with it. Now imagine you've set up a perfect development environment on your system. You're running Ubuntu Linux, you have installed and configured your favorite code editor, several development tools like Git, Node, and Python, and now you have everything tuned just the way you like it. You want to ensure that this environment can be replicated easily without going through the whole setup process again every time, and whether it's for backup purposes or to share with your colleagues or to deploy on other machines. You could solve this problem with both a container and a virtual machine. So let's look at how we would do both, and that will serve to illustrate some of the major differences. To do it using a virtual machine, you first need a system with a hypervisor. Your image needs a virtual machine to run on after all, and it's the hypervisor software that provides it. Think of it as a traffic cop for your computer's resources. It directs traffic, making sure that your hardware plays nice not with just one operating system, but with several, all at the same time. Each OS operates in its own compartment, unaware of its neighbors, while the hypervisor manages them all, keeping your system stable and efficient. It's virtualization at its finest, all courtesy of that hypervisor. Now, you can install a dedicated hypervisor operating system like Proxmox, or you can just enable the Hyper-V feature on Windows. Or you could install a virtualization package like VMware. Each works a little differently. To put a finer point on it, there are two distinct types of hypervisors. The first is the Type 1 hypervisor, or bare metal style. It runs directly on the physical hardware of the host system and does not require a host operating system, as it acts as the OS itself. This approach offers better performance and efficiency because it has direct access to the physical hardware. A Type 2 hypervisor, on the other hand, and these are not very creatively named, but a Type 2 runs as an application within a standard operating system. It relies on the host operating system below it to do the hard work of managing CPU, memory, and other hardware. It does the same job of creating a virtual environment that can be run, but instead of managing shared access to the real underlying hardware, it creates a simulated hardware environment. So what's the difference between a Type 2 hypervisor and an emulator? Well, while the emulator simulates the CPU as well, with a hypervisor, you're still running on the real CPU. And so with a hypervisor, the underlying architecture is always the same between the host and the VM. Both be x86, both be ARM, or whatever. With an emulator, however, you get a simulated CPU, and the CPU doesn't need to match the physical one. You can run a 6502 emulator on a Threadripper, for example, which is precisely what I do when working on old code. But with a hypervisor running on AMD 64, you can only run AMD 64 code. Now naturally, running under an emulator adds this layer of indirection and some inefficiency. The Darwin code that runs Intel binaries on Mac Silicon does so at a surprising speed and proves that emulation does not need to be slow, at least if it has some support on the chip to help it along. Now on a Type 1 VM, the CPU of the virtual machine must align with the host because modern CPUs support virtualization natively in that chip, and so the CPUs are prepared to be shared amongst sessions. This means that your code runs at native speed on the real CPU, and the results can be impressive. In fact, I did extensive testing of Ubuntu running as WSL2 under Hyper-V versus bare metal, and the results were consistently within 2. Yeah, the containers can be even more efficient than that. Now, thanks to the way the algorithm on YouTube works these days, I have to do the stuff that I
Back to me, back to me, back to me, back to me.
So I'll just take a moment to remind
I got him, I got him. I got him with the drone.
Informative or entertaining, I would be quite pleased if you could leave me one of each video. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And if you have any interest in matters related to the autism spectrum, please check out the free sample of my book on Amazon. Everything I know now about living your best life on the spectrum is what I wish I knew. Now let's get right back to our task of packaging this dev environment. We'll make that custom dev environment into a virtual machine and then host it on a hypervisor like Proxmox or Windows Hyper-V. Long story short, once everything is set up, all you do is take a snapshot of the VM. This snapshot includes the entire state of the VM, the operating system, installed software, disk images, your configurations, and any files you've added. It also serves as a handy backup. Whenever you need to replicate your environment, you can use this snapshot to create a new VM that is an exact replica of the original setup at the snapshot time. This can be done on any machine that supports that hypervisor, regardless of the underlying hardware. I mean, it has to manage and you have to have enough RAM, but it's not directly tied to the original machine. You can also share this VM snapshot with friends or colleagues, subject to licensing and so on. They can load the snapshot on their own hypervisor, instantly getting them up and running with the same development size. Now, how can we do this with a container? Well, instead of using a full VM, you containerize the environment using Docker. You create a Docker file that defines all the necessary installation and configuration steps. It would contain your Ubuntu base image, and then there would be lines to install Node, Python, your code editor, and copy in your configuration files. It reminds me of one of the better Docker memes that I've seen.
Let's move. I don't want to stand in there and fight.
2 squads over there? I think maybe 3. Just be careful.
Unlike the VM case where you just get it working and take a snapshot of it, with a container you have to be able to create the Docker file and express all of your installation and setup steps and dependencies within it. It's not rocket science, but it is one more thing to learn. Next, you use the Docker program itself to build the container image based on the instructions in your Docker file. It's like compiling the Docker file. This image now represents your development environment. You can even then push this container image to a global registry like the Docker Hub. From there, it can be pulled and run on any system in the world with Docker installed, instantly setting up the same environment defined in the image from anywhere on the web. I have a copy of my LED Wi-Fi server setup that runs on Linux, and so I've built a container that is available from anywhere at any time on any system running Docker. Thanks to the Makefile and some help from my friend Rutger, the Docker file lists everything needed, including the Docker.
Don't fall down here if you don't.
You can make changes to the source code, and then the Makefile recompiles the code,
but I'm safe
builds
down
the
here,
container
so.
image, and uploads the new Docker container to the global repository, all in about 1 minute.
I got
Containers
a
are more
half
lightweight and
rope
start
right here. I
faster
can
than
go up.
VMs. They're ideal if you only need to replicate an application and its immediate dependencies rather than the whole OS setup. On its face, this makes it look like the no-brainer answer is to containerize everything. And while there's certainly been a push in that direction, there are still many excellent uses of virtual machines. So let's look at some of the essential differences. The VM approach offers full isolation with its own OS, making it suitable for scenarios where the underlying OS needs to be controlled or where you need an environment identical down to the OS level. It's easier for systems that need comprehensive testing or full-stack development closely mirroring a production environment. If a security exploit in a Docker container achieves Ring 0 escalation, it has Ring 0 access to the entire system, not just to its own container. With a VM, that damage would be constrained to a single VM, as each VM is fully isolated from all of the others. The container approach is more efficient in terms of resource usage and is quicker to deploy. Containers are best suited for applications where OS level changes are minimal, and the focus is more about setting up the application side. They're great for microservices or applications where you want to be able to scale up new instances horizontally because it takes less resources to spin up new containers than it does new VMs. Both methods provide ways to snapshot and replicate environments, so the choice between using a VM or a container can depend on the specific needs for isolation, portability, and the level of granularity and control over the operating system that you need. The biggest difference between the two revolves around how they handle their operating environments and interact with the underlying hardware. A virtual machine is like a house that has its own infrastructure: plumbing, electrical, heating, and so on. Each VM includes the application, the necessary binaries, libraries, and an entire operating system running on virtualized hardware managed by the hypervisor. This setup is highly isolated and secure, but it can be resource heavy because you're replicating the whole OS for each VM. Typically, you must also allocate a certain amount of RAM to each VM, whether they're making active use of it or not. Docker containers, on the other hand, are like apartments in a building that share the building's infrastructure. Containers still provide applications with their necessities, binaries and libraries, but they share the host system's OS kernel and sometimes the binaries and libraries themselves. This makes containers much lighter and faster than VMs as they require less overhead to run an additional instance. They can have RAM limitations imposed upon them, but they don't require you to allocate that RAM to them in advance. Rather, you set a limit and they draw from a shared pool up to their standard. In essence, while both technologies offer a way to package and isolate applications, VMs are more like independent systems with their own full-fledged environments, whereas containers are more efficient. Sharing as much of the host
Dude, just everyone is in there fucking ratting.
that makes them similar to VMs in functionality. Now, a hypervisor's job might be a complicated thing to actually implement. single CPU among several live operating systems isn't a difficult one to comprehend. Containers are a bit trickier, however. Containers provide a lightweight method to isolate applications and their environments from each other on a shared operating system. They make it possible for you to run multiple applications in isolation on a single physical machine, all sharing the same kernel but appearing to each application as if it is the sole occupant of the operating system. Now, I promised you a fire hose of knowledge, and I hope you're thirsty, because to understand how Docker compartmentalizes images and isolates them from each other, we need to understand two important Linux kernel features. These mechanisms that make containers possible are largely attributed to C groups and namespaces, which are features provided by the Linux kernel. Windows also provides similar functionality via the job object, but we'll stick to Linux for today since that's where Docker is the most common. C groups, or control groups, are a Linux feature that allows you to allocate resources, such as CPU time, system memory, network bandwidth, or combinations of these, among user-defined groups of tasks running on a system. Think of C groups as a way to manage a budget of resources and distribute that budget across different applications, as if they were departments. With C groups, you can ensure that each container has access to the resources it needs without stepping on the toes of other containers. You can also ensure that one container can't hog all the resources and starve the others, maintaining a level of performance predictability and, hopefully, system stability. Now, namespaces, on the other hand, are a feature that partitions kernel resources so that one set of processes sees one set of resources, while another set of processes sees a different set of resources. The system resources are isolated in such a way that processes in different namespaces cannot see or interact with each other. This includes aspects of the system like the process ID space, network interfaces, mount points, and the user ID space. So while C groups manage the resources that containers can use, namespaces dictate what containers can see and do. When a process is running in a container, namespaces ensure that it only sees its own environment, its own files, its own network, its own running processes, and so on.
Moving up.
So taken together, C groups and namespaces form the backbone of container technology. They combine the resource management and isolation to allow containers to run independently without the overhead of starting and running a separate virtual machine for each application. This results in a much more efficient use of the underlying system resources, faster startup times for applications, and higher density of applications running on one machine, or across a whole group if you get into Kubernetes, which we will not talk
Sorry.
about. The use of both of these systems means that you can run multiple containers on a single machine, each with its own secure and isolated space, but all being much more lightweight and faster than a traditional VM. So at the end of the day then, whether you select a container or a virtual machine depends largely on what it is you're trying to accomplish. If it scales well horizontally and can be configured easily in a Docker file, and if you don't require the ultimate in isolation, then a container is likely for you. If it's more of a vertical app with larger memory and CPU requirements, or if it's a complicated environment to set up, or you need that extra layer of isolation, then a VM is good. Thanks for joining me out here in the chat. In the meantime and in between time, I hope to see you next time, right here in Dave's Garage.
Now that's an upgrade.
You're making her repeat herself. That's crazy. Why are you being mean?
I don't have a gun at all yet.
I was actually about to.
Careful if you need. Recharge my shields.
Introducing a new variable. Right after we went to the gym.
Recharging shields.
I asked Arya, I'm like, should I invite Miz?
Getting shot at.
Invite Miz.
My vision is clear.
Anyways, we sit down. First thing he asks, you know what, Hugh, you should tell this part.
Cracked a subject. Subject spotted.
High noon or noon? I'm like,
I said high noon.
yeah, high noon. Okay. And I was like, oh, it's Hugh. And he's like, oh, where's that from?
Can you call me racist for that? How am I racist?
You thought her actual name was just a username or something. Like,
I'm sorry. I went to Italian
I'm
school.
sorry, High Noon.
I went with Mike's, Joey's, and David's. I didn't go with fucking, Hughes and Aria Saki's and Amon's. That was not.
Funnily enough. Anyways. Yeah.
But like, you guys call me racist for that.
No, we didn't.
No. She just said racist. I didn't know Hughes was a me.
I think it was because I was like, oh, it's Korean, and your face just looked like
Like, kind of like the Pikachu face.
Okay,
like,
well,
you didn't know
it's
that was a possibility.
the Pikachu face is one thing. If I were like this, like, ew, then that's racist. But I was like,
Oh, like
interesting.
to the food? You did do that to the hot pot, by the way, which is
Here's
insane.
my birthday
Hot pot
present.
is so
Guys,
gross. I'm
he
sorry.
got chicken breast at the hot pot. I didn't even know you could do that. This story? I did not know you could do that. So the server, with the tomato, like the server comes up, right? And she asks everyone our soup
I know,
base.
Cheddar, I got it.
We all answer our soup base, like miso, tonkatsu, tom yum. We get to Ms. and she goes, "What soup would you like?" And he goes, "You got any chicken?" And she's like, "Yeah, we have chicken breast." And he's like, "The chicken breast." And she's like, "Okay, but how about your soup?" Like, there's chicken breast soup? Like, really? That wasn't even an option. And he thought the soup was the side. Yeah. But the soup was
I don't want to go there.
So when he got, like, raw chicken breast,
Replicator there.
dumbfounded.
Not everyone's
Just
used to it,
like-
but you should.
I thought it comes He's like, brother, ew, what is that?
I'm sorry. I think that place is ridiculous. Because let me explain. Why am I paying a waiter 20% gratuity? Ow, Cheddar, I got this joke.
20% what?
Gratuity. Why would I pay him 20% gratuity when he's not? They're not even cooking the food. They're just
Actually, in
giving
a lot of places, it's more fun to cook it. Yeah, and they prepare it so well.
So you're telling me you're giving me raw food and I have to cook it? Why am I not home? Yeah, what about you?
What are you guys eating?
I'm eating profit.
Welcome once again to Leto's Law. Here's Steve Leto.
Got a story here sent to me by almost everybody, and I've seen several versions of the story out there. This is from Reason.com, and Joe Lancaster wrote it. Appeals court rules that cops can physically make you unlock your phone. So we've had a bunch of stories in the news about this. The police arrest somebody, they got a cell phone on them, it's locked. Police say, unlock your phone. The person goes, no. And you can make an argument, among other things, about the Fifth Amendment, perhaps, right? And of course, the Fourth. But the question is, when you're talking about simply the act of pressing the thumb against the phone as the unlock method, is that a violation of your constitutional rights? And many people, I think, would say yes, because they're making you do something that could incriminate you. And so the Ninth Circuit determined that forcibly mashing a suspect's thumb into his phone to unlock it was akin to fingerprinting him at the police station. They say, well, you got the right to fingerprint somebody. What's the difference? We'll get there. As we keep more and more personal data on our phones, iPhone and Android devices
Flash
now have
Gaming
some of the
2
most
says,
advanced encryption
useless
technology in existence to keep the information safe from prying
Okay,
eyes.
goodbye.
The easiest way around it, of course, is for someone to gain access to your phone. This week, a federal court decided that police officers can make you unlock your phone, even if it takes them physically forcing you to press your thumb against it. So you pull the old, can't get my thumb, they can pry your fingers apart and do it. In November of 2021, the man here was pulled over by two California Highway Patrol officers over his car's window tint. When asked, he admitted he was out on parole, which the officers then confirmed. After finding his cell phone in the car, officers unlocked it by forcibly pressing his thumb against it as he sat handcuffed. The officers claimed in their arrest report that he reluctantly unlocked the cell phone, but when asked, the man disputed that. And then the government later accepted in court that the defendant's thumbprint was compelled. So at first they said, well, he reluctantly did it. And of course, that's a very mild way of describing reluctance. The officers searched through his camera roll and found a video taken the same day, which appeared to show several bags of blue pills, which they suspected to be illegal. After checking the phone's map and finding what they suspected to be a home address, the officers drove there and used his keys to enter and search the residence. Inside, they found and seized all kinds of stuff that was, in fact, illegal. But the question is, remember, he was pulled over for his window tint. And somehow they're searching his house now. So he was indicted for possession with intent to distribute and in a motion to suppress. His attorneys argued that by forcing him to unlock his phone, the officers compelled a testimonial communication, violating both the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable search and seizure and the Fifth Amendment's guarantee against self-incrimination. Even though the provisions of his parole required him to surrender any electronic devices and passcodes, Failure to comply could result in arrest pending further investigation or confiscation of the device pending investigation, but not the use of force to make him open the phone. So that's how you get to the fact that they were allowed to look at his phone. Apparently, it's part of the provisions of his parole. The district court denied the motion to suppress. The man pleaded guilty, but they apparently preserved this issue on appeal. And in November of 2022, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Notably, he had only served 3 for the crime for which he's on parole, which was assault with a deadly weapon on a peace officer. So he appealed the denial of the motion to suppress, and this week, in an opinion, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth ruled against the man. Searches incident to arrest are an accepted part of Fourth Amendment precedent. Further, the judge wrote, as a parolee, this man has a significantly diminished expectation of privacy, even though the conditions of his parole did not require him to provide a biometric identifier. The distinction was insufficient to support throwing out the search altogether. But the judge went one step further, and I always have people asking when judges don't explain everything, why don't judges just simply, lay out rules for the future? They're only supposed to rule on what's necessary in front of them. But here, the judge wrote, we hold that the compelled use of the man's thumb to unlock his phone, which he'd already identified for the officers, required no cognitive exertion, placing it firmly in the same category as a blood draw or fingerprint taken at booking. The act itself merely provided CHP with access to a source of potential information.
I checked your videos. Seems like
Please
you're
don't
new
talk
and
to
kicking
me
stealing
right
a lot
now.
and still
The
not
Supreme Court ruled
affiliated or
2016 that
partnered
police
yet.
need a warrant
I got a
before drawing
proposal for
suspect's
you.
blood.
I will share your
I've
stream
said
to a
this
Kick
before,
community for
and
you
this
to
is
hit
one of those
1,000
common sense
followers
arguments
and
that
earn nothing
transcends
less
the
than
law.
$1,000
If I was
per
a judge,
streaming.
and I don't want to be a judge, but
I
if
will
I was a
generate
judge,
organics
and
followers
this
and
case is
viewers
in
for
front
you
of
to
me, and the
enable
police
your
officer is
sub
standing
button.
there prepared to
Chat me up
testify,
on Discord
and
to
our
discuss
attorneys are
more
there.
if you are
Everybody's there.
interested.
I
My
said, let me ask you a
Discord
question.
username is ROSH2006.
Why didn't you get a warrant? Was the man leaving the scene anytime soon? No, he was in custody. Was the phone leaving the scene anytime soon? No. Would the data on the phone disappear if you took the time to go get a warrant? No. Was the man's thumbprint going to change if you went and got a warrant? No. So, knowing full well that there might be a fight about this later, you guys can do just a little more work and go get a warrant. And we wouldn't be here today. So, for you guys to save a little bit of time the day you didn't get a warrant, we're going to waste days in court and then more days up on appeal. You could have got a warrant, right? And why didn't you get a warrant? That's the question I've always asked. I understand there are some situations that are unfolding so fast that you haven't got time. Here, they got the guy at the side of the road. They've got his phone. They've got his thumb, right? Go get a warrant. One can argue that fingerprinting a suspect as they're arrested is part and parcel with establishing their identity. Nearly half of U.S. states require people to identify themselves to police if asked. But forcibly gaining access to someone's phone provides more than just their identity. It's a window into their entire lives. Even cursory access to someone's phone can turn up travel history, banking information, call and text logs, a treasure trove of potentially incriminating information, all of which would otherwise require a warrant. And by the way, remember that there's portions of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that talk about things that have to do with privacy. Like the Quartering Act, the idea that the government could, in the old days, tell you, hey, you've got to open your house up unless some soldiers stay there for however long they need to. And of course, they did away with that because people found it very intrusive to have soldiers living in their home for however long. And so think of all the stuff that's in your phone. And that's probably the most intrusive that someone can get these days. Because in the old days, we thought, well, if someone stole my mail, they'd know a lot about me. Or if somebody broke into my house and broke into my safe, if I had a safe. Or they broke into my safe deposit box. That's where I keep my secrets. Nowadays, everything's on your phone. That's the one thing that's got the most private information on it for most people. I'm pretty sure that's true. When they drafted the Fourth Amendment, the founders drew on the history of writs of assistance, general warrants used by British authorities in the American colonies that allowed government agencies to enter homes at will and look for anything that was disallowed. As a result, the Fourth Amendment requires search warrants based on probable cause signed by a judge. Now, the judge does note the peculiar circumstances of the case Our opinion should not be read to extend to all instances where a biometric is used to unlock an electronic device. But he adds, the outcome may have been different had the officer required the man to independently select the finger that he placed on the phone instead of forcibly mashing his thumb into it himself. So the judge is basically saying, hey, look, there's this double secret back door he could have gotten out, but he didn't know that. So what you got here, pretty straightforward. Guy's got a cell phone. It's locked. Police want to look at that cell phone. And instead of going and getting a warrant, they literally grab his hand and stick his thumb and do it that way. And the court said, that's fine. That's fine. And by the way, I mean, another problem you got with that is, let's suppose that somebody's at the side of the road and they're actually able to put up a big fight where they will not let somebody push their thumb up against the phone. What do you do then? You tase the person to make them more cooperative? It seems to me that the warrant would be the way that you get around almost all of this. Now, some of you are going to say, well, Steve, just because they got a piece of paper telling you to put your thumb on the phone doesn't mean you're going to. Oh, no, of course not. But at that point, you can be held in contempt of court. So if there's a court order saying, provide your thumbprint to unlock your phone, and you refuse, then the court can take a different remedy. But the question is, which do you prefer? Okay? Wrestling with somebody by the side of the road without a warrant, or showing somebody a warrant that says, unlock your phone or you face legal consequences. And I think that's the way that most people think this should go. So that's a story from Reason.com. Joe Lancaster wrote it. Appeals court rules that cops can physically make you unlock your phone against your will without a warrant. I think it's wrong, but that's from the Ninth Circuit. We'll see what happens if it goes up any higher. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Leto's Law. Better to have a single sentence manifesto about your life which is fulfilled than to have 25 chapters theories about your vision that remain undone.
Easy.
If you've been following this channel, you know that recently we began a series of videos on developing a high-powered, computer-controlled, directed energy device. And as I promised, we're going to be continually increasing the power and the capabilities of this system, as you can see. The results are impressive. Actually, they're very exciting. So much so that Alex and I have planned a trip to an arms dealer convention. We're going to get some really expensive suits, maybe a gold earring. But seriously, to keep things interesting, today we're going to deviate from that topic, and I'm going to cover a different type of device that can be used for increasing the fuel efficiency and the thrust of jet engines without using a drop of additional fuel. Now, we have done a lot of videos on propulsion. Early on, we've done a series on building and designing your own large rotors or propellers for drones or other types of vehicles. We've also done a series of videos on rocket motors, how they work and how to build both solid rockets and hybrid rockets. And then we tested them. That was a lot of fun. We've also done a series of videos on turbojet engines. Again, the principles, the engineering, how to build one yourself at home, as well as testing them along with an afterburner. This is a pulse jet engine. This is a pulse detonation engine. It's very closely related to rotating detonation engines that have become kind of a topic of the day with all of the developments that have been going on with NASA. And this is a commercial turbojet engine. These are augmenters. Now, if you think I misspoke and meant to say afterburners, I didn't. This is a completely different animal, and it operates by completely different principles, and we're going to dig into that. Now, I didn't invent these. These things have been around for decades, and there's a lot of literature out there to support the fact that these things can substantially improve the performance of these types of engines. But there's very little research out there to demonstrate how they would work with continuous output jet engines. The few papers I found suggest that they don't work. And I found that very strange, because if this principle of operation works on the microsecond scale and the millisecond scale, why shouldn't it work on the second or indefinite scale of a continuous output jet engine? Now, it's possible, because of the lack of data out there, that the few papers I read were wrong. And so, we've got a jet engine, we've got augmenters. We're going to go ahead and we're going to test that today. Now, if you're interested in jet engines and you want a lot of information, take a look at our original series. But briefly, what we have here is a commercial RC turbojet engine. This is the Swinwin 300B solid-stage RC turbojet. The B stands for the brushless in the front, and the 300 stands for 300 newtons of static thrust at sea level, which is about 66 pounds. So this is a pretty beefy RC turbojet engine. Now, we purchased this engine from a local distributor here in the U.S. called Bad Boys, B-O-Y-Z-R-C. And they don't sponsor this channel. We don't have any sponsors. But even though it's a small company, I've been very impressed with their pre- and post-sale support. I've called them at all hours, and they're always very responsive and very helpful. And it's very nice to have a company that can tune, maintain, repair these engines in the United States, as opposed to having to ship everything back to China if you have a problem with the engine. So if you're in the market for an engine like this, I would definitely put them on the list of companies that you should give a call. Now, the way the engine operates is that in the front of the engine is a single-stage centrifugal compressor that draws air into the engine and compresses it to 2 to 3 atmospheres in the combustion chamber. That's where fuel is injected and it is ignited. And once it burns, it releases a lot of heat and substantially increases the volume of that pressurized gas, which then rockets out the back of the engine to produce thrust. This is a reactive engine, a momentum-based engine. The acceleration of the gas out the back is what produces the force in the opposite direction, Isaac Newton. Mass times velocity. If you want more thrust, you either need more mass and/or more velocity. Now, the compressor requires energy to drive it, a surprising amount of energy. In this engine, at full throttle, that single compressor wheel uses over 100 horsepower to turn it. In this little engine, it's pretty impressive. And where that power comes from is in the exhaust of the high-pressure, high-velocity exhaust is a turbine. The gases impinge on the turbine and cause it to rotate, and that rotation is transferred to the compressor wheel in the front. But by extracting that much energy from the gases cool and they shrink. So the velocity of the gas coming out of the back end is lower than it would be if you didn't have the compressor, or the turbine. But you have to run the compressor, so you're stuck with that. Now, the way an afterburner works is that all jet engines pass a lot more air through them than they need to supply the oxygen to burn the fuel. It's not a stoichiometric mix of just enough oxygen, just enough fuel, that everything gets consumed. So what comes out the back of the engine is hot, but it still has a lot of oxygen in it. So the afterburner injects fuel after the turbine so we don't melt it, and ignites it, reheating the gases, expanding them again. And so in order to get out of the nozzle, the only way to do that is to go faster, so we get more thrust. Now, these things are remarkable little devices because they can have few or no moving parts. They're lightweight, and they can increase the base thrust of the engine by 50 to 70%. The downside is they're very inefficient. They use a lot more fuel than the underlying engine. And the reason for that is that the efficiency with which any internal combustion engine can convert chemical or heat energy into useful work, in this case, high velocity exhaust coming out of the back, is directly related to the compression ratio of the air and the fuel at the point that you combust them or you burn them. That's why diesel engines are so efficient compared to, say, gasoline engines, because they have a very high compression ratio. Now, commercial turbojet engines with their multiple compressor stages can actually reach compression ratios that are higher than a diesel engine. They're very efficient. Single-stage RC turbojets, not so much. Problem is, the afterburner is operating after the turbine at even lower pressure ratios than in the combustion chamber. That's what makes them very inefficient. So if you take a look at a video on YouTube where they take a turbojet and they fire up the afterburner, you'll see what looks like a blowtorch coming out of the back. It looks really cool, but that hot incandescent gas represents wasted thermal energy because it's not heat that drives the engine forward, it's pressure. Nevertheless, if you want to take off from a carrier deck or you're in a combat maneuver, they can be very useful devices. Now, specific to this engine, we have an electrical feed line and we have a fuel line. The fuel line and the electric line go forward here. This fuel line has a little shutoff valve here and runs to this fuel pump over here, which draws its fuel from these two 1-liter tanks. Each of them contains Jet A with 3% turbine oil added to the fuel to lubricate the bearings. This pump receives its signal and its power from this junction box here, which is in turn powered by a 12-volt or 3S battery. The control over this is, or I should say actually the feed from the engine also goes into this box. So this thing can send power to the starter motor, to the glow plugs, and receive signals from the thermocouple that measures the exhaust gas temperature as well as the RPM of the engine. This in turn is then hooked up to the GSU, or the ground support unit. It's a little computer with pre-written algorithms for automatic startup sequence, shutdown sequence, and limits for overtemp or for overspeed. And it allows you to control the unit with a simple menu control and a few buttons, so it's pretty convenient. On the bench, we then have this thing controlling through this box to here a pulse width modulation source. This is basically a servo controller that changes the frequency of the pulses, and that's how we can throttle the engine up and down when we're doing the testing on the bench. Now, because we're going to be testing this engine as well as these engines, multiple engines, we decided to build a dedicated support stand for doing this. We have a very heavy optical table here that weighs about 450 pounds, about 200 kilograms. And bolted securely to this is a wooden frame, and on this frame are two linear bearings that support these brackets here and have a very high load capacity, but almost no rolling resistance. So mounted onto these bearings is a heavy-duty beam that sticks out of the front onto which we can mount our motors. This beam then is limited in its forward motion by hitting this plate. This is a blast plate. Because we are going to be in relatively close proximity to some pretty energetic events, in case things go really sideways, this helps to protect us because we're so close. What prevents this thing from moving backwards under thrust is this load cell here, which is attached to this load meter that can read up to 1,000 newtons or about 200 pounds of forward thrust. And that is how we're going to be testing the motor. So, enough talking. Let's get this thing outside and let's make some noise.
Ring closes in 45.
Ready? What do we do with this?
Yeah, keep it. Yeah.
Remember to go slow to the bump.
Yep.
And straight out until the second set of wheels pass the bump.
Barrow's yard, move. We're forcing them around the other edge.
Force them around the other edge, guys.
Keep going.
I think we should force them around the other edge.
A little forward. About there. Good? Yep. That was good. Okay. So I can start my process now.
Good.
All right. Yeah, that's not rolling.
All right. It's quite windy though.
Yeah.
What can I do? Bring the cord out. Okay, good. Nice.
So while he's finishing up the fine setup here, just wanted to give you a little bit of a reminder. You might have noticed on our channel, we don't have any paid sponsors. We've debated it, but we find that it tends to interfere with the flow of the videos, and it can be a little bit annoying, especially when you're putting up with advertisements on top of that. So the only support we get is from YouTube and Patreon. And so by subscribing to the channel and by commenting, you help to push the algorithm, causing YouTube to distribute our videos to a much broader audience. And that will help us to grow and help us to afford to spend the time and the money that obviously we're investing in this project. Thanks. Now back to the video.
Help drawn if you need it.
So I've turned on the fuel line here so we can deliver fuel to the system. And a couple of things that you're going to want to watch. This force gauge here will read the thrust of the engine as we're ramping this thing up. You'll also notice on this GSU, the top two lines. The top line shows the RPM of the engine, which tops out at about 98,000 RPM. And the second number is the EGT, or the exhaust gas temperature, which would be a little bit below 700 degrees Celsius. And beyond that, you can see that there's a current meter that measures the amount of current flowing to the engine, which originally is going to be very high when it's starting the spin up, and also when it's firing up or heating up the two glow plugs inside of the engine. The initial sequence, because this is going to get very loud, will sound relatively quiet as the engine is beginning to spool up. And then when it reaches a certain RPM, around 4,000 or 5,000, it will open the first of the low flow solenoids inside of the engine and spray a little bit of fuel at the glow plug to get everything ignited. Once it reads that we're getting some burn and some increase in temperature, then it will automatically ramp up the speed to 33,000 RPM, which is the idle speed of the engine. And then once that stabilizes over about 4 or 5 seconds, then we can go ahead and ramp up to full speed. You'll notice those things, but also in the background, keep an eye on the fuel container. This thing is really thirsty, and it's impressive how fast it drinks the fuel. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
I say that. I'm not really ready.
Oh, something else that I should have mentioned. I added some lead bricks to bring the total weight here to about 800 pounds, and on the wood boards, which elevate the table off of the driveway here, we get a lot of friction, so there is no way this thing is going to move.
Yeah.
In addition, we have a fire extinguisher here, and I have this electric blower set up. If everything goes fine, we're not going to use those things. But in the off chance that the engine sort of shuts down suddenly for some inexplicable reason, it can flood with fuel, and you don't want it to have jet fuel sitting inside of a hot engine for a long time, because it can coke and it can damage the injectors. It can also damage the solenoid. So if we need to, we can use that blower to cool the engine down rapidly before we clean it out. So hopefully we don't need them. All right.
So here we go. Ready?
That's looking better. All the way up.
Ignition
Now go
sit
down.
down.
Almost all the way, but not quite.
I'm at 12%.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's doing ignition.
I don't think it is.
Put it down a little bit.
8%.
There.
I have
There.
to go to 0.
Yeah,
You have to go
okay.
to 0. It's not.
All right.
Yeah. There we go. I
Yep.
hear the firing. Yeah. Preheat.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys can see that.
I love that sound and I love that smell.
Preheat. Got it.
Now it should go all the way up on its own to 33,000.
Yeah, and if you can see down here, guys, you can see the levels. Yeah. Oh.
Wait, leave it. It's stabilizing. Let it do it.
Okay. Yeah, it says fuel ramp there.
Yeah.
And if you guys can see, it says running on there, and you can see the RPM, temp, pump, and RC levels on the bottom there.
Gibraltar's the jump master. You're in good hands, man.
Basically, at that point, they were like, no, 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 we don't want to.
Welcome everyone!
1 minute till ring call.
Happy April 20th! It was it's
You can only speak in an accent. You can't make eye contact. Can't speak only.
Just say my name real quick. John. What?
Pretend you are hard of hearing. Don't show teeth when laughing. Only point with your elbows.
There was no instructions in the box.
Thank you.
In the
Look, apostrophe.
what? The other team gets to spank you with the spank stick.
That does not sound good.
Could someone say my name by chance?
Jody.
Thank you, darling.
Enemy shield cracked. I'm taking the shot. Reloading.
That's alright.
Jody.
No.
We have 10
Well, I'm
seconds.
back
Jody.
I can't.
All good, guys. Good luck. We have it under control. All right, we're gonna get out. Go, go, go.
Shields recharge.
Relax. Let
don't already know, this is the lovely, beautiful, talented Maya. Okay, and my lovely friends June and Aria that are here with me today to visit Maya's animal sanctuary.
I'm gonna introduce some animals on this table, and some bugs.
Right here? What did you think this is for?
We're putting on gloves. Why?
I don't know. Wait, aren't you supposed to tell us? I was thinking poop. Like, my first thought was an animal's gonna poop on me.
No, we're putting on gloves for the safety of the air, actually. Do you guys have any guesses? Guys.
They're saying Georgie.
Georgie.
It's Georgie!
Got him!
It's Georgie!
Oh my goodness.
Surprise! It's George.
He's so cute. Guys, I have a little guy. He's rude. Oh my god.
He's not a little guy.
Oh,
He's a
not?
big guy.
He's a big guy? Oh, he's big.
Who's
a Pepe? He's a Pepe. I had a really terrible thought and it's that he looks kind of fried.
Fried?
Like a fried chicken piece, no?
He feels like a whoopee cushion.
Look, he looks like, this looks like
Bro,
a
we're
fried
getting
chicken
third
wing.
party. Time to keep moving.
This is actually crazy. When we got Georgie, he was like, he was really small. Like he could fit in my hand. And now
I was
he's
gonna say.
too big for people to like hold him.
How old is Georgie?
He's like, oh, that's nice.
He's
That's
so
a good
soft. He's so I think it's because I'm used to holding my big chunky cat. Look at that ass. Damn.
You got a little bit of wood chips on your face, Georgie.
So
You gotta clean up.
So this is an African bullfrog. They're amphibians, and they have semi-permeable skin, so he can soak things up through his skin, which is awesome because he'll stay buried for like 10 months out of the year.
Are you going after that, bro? Don't drop that.
And as human beings, we're just filled with toxins and toxins. Or like Can I just touch one?
Yes. He looks
Oh my-
wet, but he's not.
Guys, it's like a pickle.
It's like a pickle.
Well, yeah. Isn't this giving pickle?
Honestly, yeah, it kind of is.
Like
He's like
cucumber
a-
pickle.
A little bit. Like a gourd. A gourd.
How big can a frog import be?
The Goliath bullfrog is the biggest. I think it's probably like not that much.
Can you imagine that like on your lap? You're just petting it.
It's like a chihuahua.
Can I ask something really scientific?
Yeah.
Is this his butthole?
Yeah.
Where?
Does he have balls?
Internally, yes.
Oh,
He-
they're inside.
His poops are huge, like shockingly big for his size.
Like a finger?
Like bigger, like a fat finger.
Oh my god. But the butthole is so small.
Yeah, chat's seen it. There are clips of him pooping. He's
Like a
famous.
whole-ass sausage?
He's famous for pooping.
man.
You guys want to know something crazy about frogs? You know how pregnancy tests work? Like you pee on a stick?
Yeah.
Before we could do that, before we had the disposable ones, people would inject urine into the backs of frogs. Because if the pregnancy hormone was present, they would lay eggs.
Wait, lay
Isn't
what
that
kind of
crazy?
egg?
Like frog eggs. not like hybrid human egg.
Wait, are
Like,
you
they would,
saying like we're impregnating the frog? I'm confused.
No. I think it like pushes the process.
It's a hormonal thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So if our pregnancy hormone is there, then the frog lays eggs.
I've
And
got
that's
what
how
you
we
need.
would know if women were pregnant. And so we would import a ton of frogs to just, women would like ship in their pee. That's how we used to test.
So
for
frogs
pregnancy.
used to be our pee sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that animal abuse?
I think I would not want someone else's urine in me.
I don't want to beef with any queens of the 1970s, but yeah. Okay, so I'm so sorry to be gross, but like, are those the balls?
No.
Okay,
You can't see his balls.
No, I know, but you know, inside? Or is this just like junk in the trunk?
That's just his butt.
Oh, that's a cute butt, Jen. You got a real dumpy too. I think Georgie kind of looked like a fried wing. Probably, honestly, because of the membrane on his skin. And also because his little legs stick out like chicken wings. So cute. Less edible, still cute.
Actually, frog legs taste like chicken. I've heard
You've
that.
had frog legs?
Yeah, my mom tricked me into it.
I would never eat a fried pig. Is it because it's Georgie? Probably.
This is a blue tongue skink. This is
He's so pretty.
Toes. I know a toes.
Toad. He's called a blue tongue skink. You'll have to give him
Go
like.
ahead.
Oh.
Whoa, his tongue is like huge hair blue.
Oh.
Thank you, Mom. Wait, stick out your tongue. It matches my hair.
Yeah. Ooh!
tell predators that he's poisonous, but he's not.
Oh, so he's faking it.
Yeah,
That's
he's
funny.
faking
We
it.
love that. We love that.
His scales feel lovely. Like
Nice,
so
right?
nice. Wow. Right? And he's just chilling. Like what a good boy.
Yeah, he's so chill.
Courier
He's so nice.
prawn.
So this is an Australian lizard.
Hello, mate.
His
You've got an excellent concept with great skill.
No.
That's
Does
why
he
I
just, like,
follow.
eat it whole?
I've got for you a
With the
great
shell and all?
suggestion that can get you affiliated and enable
He
you
loves little
passive
worms,
income.
He loves little bugs.
Hit me up on
One
Discord,
of the things
hand
I talk
pointing
about
right
with
Emma
snakes is
underscore
that-
CU.
Snake model.
Is that we use pesticides, and then the bug eats the pesticide, and then the lizard eats the bug,
Yeah.
then they eat the pesticide, and then they
Yeah.
die.
Oh, no.
So we want to try to avoid chemical pesticides as much as you guys can. Use natural
Like if you're
pesticides.
gardening?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Yeah.
I love how he kind of like licks to see where he's going.
Yeah, so they smell with their tongue, like a snake.
I actually never noticed that.
Yeah. So he's catching particles on his tongue and then puts it back into his mouth. He's got an organ on the roof of
He
his
has
mouth.
ear holes.
He does have ear holes.
It's just like a hole into his skin. I guess our ears are kind of like that.
Yeah.
They got some shit around, you know? So like the hole is not so direct. This looks like a gaping wound. He is so like lovely.
He is.
He is
So
lovely.
soft. Are snakes good, bad pets? The
seriously.
mean girl at my high school had a snake.
Oh, hey.
But I know she kind of did it because it was like, I have a snake.
Yeah.
You know? But
Watch out. I'm that girl.
also wouldn't recommend snakes to most people. They're actually way more complicated than people think. You have to regulate like their temperature and humidity, and like they have special substrate.
I feel like people probably don't do.
No, they just like put them in a tank and they're like, what's a snake? So it's tough.
Should we take one home? Nope, because they're not.
Baby.
You know, most people don't take good care of don't drive set. Don't do that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
She's an educator.
Like, is this technically like normal behavior, like being just docile or being chill?
Skinks are generally pretty chill. I think Toast is one of the chillest that I've met, but they're all pretty chill.
He's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe it's a you thing. Maybe you're just good.
I mean, like in
at
the
that.
wild, you would not be chill. Like they can bite really hard.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a stupid question.
Okay.
No question, stupid.
Until you hear it. So, for an animal sanctuary, you know, in my mind, I was like, oh, it's for endangered animals. Is it just for animals, period? How do you decide what animals to keep or not?
That is not a stupid question. It's a really good question. Yeah. It depends. Some of them kind of fall into our lap and need a home, and as long as they have a conservation story that we think needs to be projected, we usually take them in.
I didn't plan on matching my hair with Toast, but I ended up doing that. Pretty nice to see. Wavelength or something.
I think it's like a matching with your bestie kind of situation. Wow! Sorry.
This is Noodle. If you guys want to put your arms out, she may just kind of like.
Bro, she's big.
God, do you remember when she went?
Here,
This
keep
is a
going,
carpet
sweetie.
python.
Let's go.
She's about 8 feet long. This is very exciting. She hasn't been out for a collab in a very long time because she had mites, and now she doesn't.
mites?
They're like kind of like ticks for snakes, or like fleas for snakes.
How do you get rid of that?
A lot of soaking, iodine soaks,
Poor
and
baby.
changing out her bedding and stuff.
I cannot get over how good the skin feels.
Isn't it nice?
Like, whoa.
I think some people see snakes and they think they're gonna be like slimy or yuck, but they feel
true.
really look
So soft, but like textured in a way.
She also
It's
says
really cool.
hi. She has hi written all over her.
Come and get your birthday present.
Hey.
Ah, true. Hi. She's saying
Got
hee hee
another one
hee
over
hee hee.
here.
She's laughing at us.
Oh wait, she's up in my attention. She's in here.
She's going.
Are you gonna choke me?
So she is a constrictor.
You into that?
Really? If she were to eat something, she would constrict it. And
Do they
suffocate
ever
it and
do
then
that
eat
to
it.
people or things?
They can only eat something that's about as big as the largest part of their body. So like, she can eat large rats.
Hey, girl.
Oh,
hey.
she's cute. This is so cute.
We're besties now.
Yeah,
Wait, she's
actually.
definitely- Wait, she's doing the thing. She's doing the thing.
She's just
What thing?
getting
Ooh.
a grip on it. She's not gonna like constrict
She's
you, I
getting a
swear.
grip.
She's like balancing, you know. There's over 3,000 species of snakes. Only 20% of them are venomous. Most of them are harmless to people. They get a really bad rep.
It fucking freaks me out, bro.
Yeah,
Like
you know the
noodles.
term. They're a snake.
Right.
But actually, snakes are so fucking cool.
Yeah, she's really cool. It's nice having this many people to hold her. She's got like a whole playground right now. Someone said it's a rattlesnake, kill them all. First of all, cringe. Okay, second of all.
Yeah, first of all, cringe.
Yeah. Second of all, they're actually snakes are really awesome for our environment. They're natural, chemical-free rodent control, pest control. They're really good at that, obviously, because they eat rodents. You're not going to go up there. I don't want to. And they help balance food webs for us in the wild. That's very important. Just like the ecosystem. I see. They keep everything in
balance.
In balance.
As things should be. Noodle felt like an arm with scales, but a really buff arm. Like, oh, you go to the gym every day. Buff arm with scales. That also kind of moves. Crazily enough, a snake's scales feel way better alive. Like, they're so smooth and soft, and it just feels right. If you've ever felt that kind of thing on an item of clothing, you're kind of just like, why is it here? If anything, it like always feels or seems artificial, but when it's on a snake, this is just right. Probably because it is. This feels
I cracked an enemy. Forget it.
We're gonna go see some of the other rescued animals that we have here. I'll tell you guys about where they came from and why we have them when we get into enclosure.
Okay.
We're gonna start in the pasture, where we have Stompy, the star.
Whoa, Burb's so fluffy.
So this is Stompy.
Wow!
Stompy's an emu, a common emu. This is an Australian bird, an Australian ratites. They're related to like ostriches.
We've got a long way to go and a minute
So
to
still
do
just
it.
counts
Let's
as a
go.
bird, even though it's like...
Does he know his affection?
Yeah, he likes being pet actually.
You
So
like
not
it?
Not like the reptiles. He's nice.
Let's move this way.
Birds are kind of funny.
35, ring ain't
He does
close.
have little wings.
Go there.
Little bird.
Giving my shields a recharge.
This is the littlest one I've ever seen.
Stompy, what the hell?
He's being a little silly.
Stompy also is like a pretty good hugger. If you guys would like to hug Stompy, this guy.
Stop, that's
Oh,
so cute.
Right here. Assisted hug.
I feel so loved. You and me
Okay,
now.
back with the horse treats that he doesn't eat. I don't know
Rings
why he
around the
puts
corner.
this one.
You guys should try. It's really cute. Oh, look at the way he
You match.
Yeah.
That's
I
cute.
would like to try too. He like snuggles in there.
That's so cute.
Will you take a hug? In progress. He's scared of me.
Listen
He's
up,
looking
the
at you.
ring's moving.
Sorry, it's just like. It's nice.
Don't look at those. Don't peck at those.
So I've had Stompy since he was 14 days old.
And why did you call him Stompy?
Because when he was little, and he would run around on the hardwood, his feet would like.
That's so cute.
He's a stompy little guy.
Looks like
He seems like a
Wait,
ladies' man.
It's
Big days
hot
in
enough. We can give Stompy a bath. We haven't done this for so long.
Wendy, come here. Wait,
I've always wanted to meet a cow.
is that a bonnet?
It's a fly mask,
Oh,
so it keeps the flies out of the eyes. This is Winnie the Moo.
Package
Oh,
Winnie the Moo.
That name is iconic. Winnie the Moo.
Whoa. I can't believe how big the cow's head is.
So Winnie came from a beef operation in Oklahoma, so she would have been slaughtered for meat like a year ago. But she just had herself a birthday party.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Winnie the Moo. She's amazing. She likes being brushed under the
When's her exact birthday?
March 22nd.
Oh, phew. Close.
Okay, if you want to brush her under her neck, she likes like under here.
Oh, she let us shit.
Damn. Right here, girly cop.
Wait, you guys look so cool with the cow because you're happy. You're like ranchers. So with Winnie, I teach people about the beef industry primarily. Cows produce. Did you really just break my cup? What is wrong with you?
Oh my god, he just ate through the whole cup.
Why would he do that?
You wanted more.
Of course. There's so much. Cows produce methane, like they both require methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So we have a ton of cows to keep up with the beef demand,
Which
and
actually leads to deterioration of
yeah,
the
it's a serious
ozone.
it's a serious issue for our climate. So I always tell people you don't have to do it because it's a lot. But if you want to make like a small change, start making a change in your daily choices. Eating less beef is a great start.
Are there any labels on meat or dairy?
Rings nearby, 1 minute.
Yeah,
products that are better than others?
My platters will have them, and I'm forgetting what they are. I think certified humane. And then
Is pasture raised a good thing? Like, what kind of eggs is raised on pasture?
pasture raised is good on eggs. It's certified humane based. But pasture raised alone is regulated by the so people could just put it on there. Been down.
Some curly white.
Yeah. Oh, wait, they are so white. Oh, yeah, they're pretty nice. You got pretty nice feet. You're gonna brush the cow. Yeah. Winnie, this is the best day ever. Are you kidding me?
I need a little bit here.
Oh yeah. There you go.
Yeah. There were some knots. My dream is to live on like a part farm. Have a bunch of chickens. Is it bad if I eat the eggs of the chicken?
No, that's awesome. That's like the dream.
Perfect.
Can I go get her ball?
Already inside the ring.
Ball? She's a ball? Please?
Already. I'm gonna go get it.
I brought your ball. She's already going towards the ball. Oh my god, she's a Sarah! Whoa! I've never seen a cow play. That's crazy. Yeah. Hi, cutie.
She steps on it and she's like, mine. She literally is. She's like, bet you can't, bet you can't. Oh, she is not lifting for you. That's such a scene. I'm dead. That's hilarious. She said, nope.
Dude, I broke my nail trying to do that.
No way.
I bent all the way back.
Girl.
That's okay.
Apologize.
You want to keep it, it's yours. I was just trying to play, you know? Like, how much weight is on that one little...
Wait, you were, oh my god, I thought you were doing it for theatrics.
No, I actually cannot get it out. Like, we could all pull.
Yeah, all three of us. Come on, Hugh.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Ow.
Winnie, where good Wait, Maya, you try it. I think she'd probably lift for you.
Oh, you like shoved the foot. Damn.
That's how you do it. A little shove it. I love Winnie. I immediately had my Harvest Moon dreams come to life. I just brushed her nonstop because I was like, when is this gonna happen again? I don't know. I gotta keep on going.
They had a connection. She wouldn't give anyone her ball.
Yeah, that was... Maya had to push Winnie to get that ball. Such a troll. She got jokes. Winnie got jokes.
Would you guys like to bathe the bird?
Yes,
please.
Let's get it.
Okay, you can hold this hose if you want.
Chicken. You like that?
He's like,
wait a minute.
Brought to your knees by a beautiful woman. Don't be so surprised.
Okay, all right.
This might be a good place to land.
Splash zone, apparently.
Oh, that's
Here
so
we go.
cute.
It's a long drop.
Wait, that's
Fun.
adorable. Yeah, you use that.
Oh,
water.
nice.
She's like,
Beautiful.
Yay, Stompy.
Anyone else want some?
Stompy can also swim. It's kind of crazy. Like,
should you put it on their face too?
no.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
wait, you guys.
Or birds.
They kind of reset like NPCs.
They do.
Did we not come in here and they were like that already? Like,
What? Wait, you're so right, actually.
they literally just reset for us.
This really does not feel real.
It's
It feels like a mountain wow.
Yeah.
You know?
He was a character. Stompy was so cute.
Stompy's lovely. I love him. He gave us a hug. Like, what could be cuter?
I think Stompy set the vibes. He was smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he also like always followed us.
Round
He's
1.
good tour guide now.
Fight well.
Hi.
This is Siren. She's a blue-fronted Amazon. Can you say hello?
Bring it to
Wow. She likes to sing. She sings happy
the All
birthday.
Father graces your victory. Taka your
She
reward.
said birthday.
Happy birthday!
I'm not cool with all this. What the fuck?
It's like me in the shower. I only know half the fucking song.
Happy birthday! Birthday!
You have fulfilled the blessed motive. Claim the
Birthday! So, Paris is 10. She'll live like 50, 60 years. And they can scream super loud, like hearing damage loud. And they can chew through wood and like break your fingers. So who got the idea to have Paris? I don't know. But most people see videos of them like singing, dancing, and they're cute, and they're like, oh my god, great. And then they put them in their house, and they're like, oh my god, my house, and my life is ruined. So they end up in places like this. That's Mia. This is an African guy, yeah. Hey, that's nice. Oh my god, he looks beautiful.
Wait, let me get this. Hold up.
Oh,
do the dance. Do the dance for Lily. Okay.
Now she's not gonna.
Really?
There was a team that's recently been here.
I tried to teach her a sea shanty once, and so she kind of picked up the melody for the shanty, but only knows the lyrics to Happy Birthday. So we call it her birthday shanty. Should I sing a birthday shanty?
incoming care package. I love loot. Care package over there. Care package over there. Zipline deployed.
Oh, she's amazing, real talent. She's a real musician.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Amazing, but also sounds like kooky. So cute. So I'm here for it.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's her favorite. Her favorite day.
I love the birthday.
Happy birthday.
Cut the tone down.
Oh, he's dancing.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
3 squads here.
So should we leave, get the zip line, and get out?
Yeah, let's fucking do it. I don't know if we can take the zip line in front of us. Go behind.
Is it a happy birthday? Happy birthday.
Taking the zip line I came in on.
Yeah, good idea, good idea. As I say, there was one to the left and 2 in front.
Yeah.
Birthday.
And I don't got scopes.
Birthday. I love anything that'll talk to me, so I love that. What? What is that? Wait.
What is that?
What is that? It looks like a gorilla hamster.
Yeah, baby.
What is that?
How? I've never seen that. This is a black tufted marmoset.
What does that mean?
He's a primate. He's a monkey. He is a
Top of the main central building, and
He's a
then
monkey. It's a Brazilian primate. And this is a white tufted marmoset. Oh, don't look at her
It's Zaboomafu. He's putting his ass in his face.
The enemies are shooting at me.
Appa. Appa.
Oh, that's a cute name. Hell yeah.
He will let you can give him things. He's been really into sticks lately.
those guys are being hunted fast.
Here you go, guys.
We are?
Oh yeah, they're coming straight for us.
From where?
You want a stick?
Central building.
Oh.
Wait, that is the cutest.
Okay.
Take it back.
Have they ever
Okay, I
used
see
the
'em.
tire swing?
No, they haven't.
Oh.
I made
He's
it
like
for them.
pointing
I was
it,
like,
look.
this is gonna be so cute. And
It's like a little weapon.
he's like, what do I do with it? Yeah, he just like grabs them. So the marmosets we got from a neglect case in Austin. So somebody bought them as a pet online and had them in like a little cage in their house. And then our veterinarian.
Is that even legal?
Actually, it is in Texas, which
Really?
is crazy.
Giving my shields a recharge.
Yeehaw. And
I've been snared.
probably not. So our vet declared neglect on them, and then they were transferred here. When we got them, Appa had almost no use of his back legs, which is crazy because he's like using now. And we have them to teach people about the exploitation of these guys in country, obviously, because that's where they came from.
Not to be weird, but it looks AI generated.
Yeah.
You know, like I never knew this was an animal.
Yeah, like let's mash a bunch of animals together.
If you guys want to show
Will they fucking yes, please? Once?
look at it. They're iPad
Maybe
kids.
Twitch chat?
iPad kids. Subway Surfers, Appa. You would love that.
Yeah, so I was saying.
What's the problem?
Today I was talking to Julie, and you wouldn't believe what she said about Daniel.
The name is like God
Julie and
tier.
Daniel have been seeing each other for like 3 years. But what you don't know is that Julie was cheating on Daniel for the last year and a half. Like, can you believe it? I couldn't believe it, but also, like, I'm not gonna tell him. I don't know Daniel. Those hamster gorillas were really something. They were. I have never seen that before. Not even in real life. Like even a Google image, a textbook. Never knew it was a thing. So when I looked at it, I was like, is this some kind of like genetically modified creature? Some artificial intelligence, Photoshop creature? So cool. It's not even that. It's just nature.
I've seen photos of it, but I never knew that it was that
So
small. 'cause
right?
you usually see it in person.
A gorilla would be huge. It looks just like that, but just miniature and kind of hamstery.
So tiny.
So cute. Thank you so much for having us. It was so fun. Like one of the most fun streams I've ever done. And just what a great cause that we get to raise money for. So
Keep on
thank you
doing
guys
you.
for watching.
Wow. This look inside the Apple Vision Pro enables us to learn things that would otherwise be nearly impossible without destroying the device. But the Neptune CT scanner that we just got lent from Lumafield does so much more than just spit out a 2D image like this one. It can stitch together hundreds or even thousands of 2D X-rays into a full 3D model. Come over and take a look. Oh, look at this. Here's all the little magnets for the optional Zeiss lenses.
I'm telling him to die real quick.
Drives for the automatic IPD adjustment. We've actually got a really cool one where we isolated those components
the
so you
enemies
can see
aren't
the
by
whole
him, so give it 1
mechanism.
second.
And if you
He'll
look
die.
closely in this view, you can see every single BGA solder joint on the chips on the board. Pretty darn impressive for not removing any of the screws, which are conveniently much easier to find now if we wanted to take the iFixit approach. And depending on the tuning, which we're going to talk about in more depth later, we can even zoom in far enough. Check this out, look at this. That we can see.
I mean, you're gonna have to basically get up and run. I don't even know how the fuck we're getting out of this right now.
Check out their rings, watches, and necklaces made from unique materials like Gibeon meteorite.
I've already played it at Apex God, so I think we're
Check them
good.
out at the link below and use code LTT to get 20% off. Without looking too closely at the spoilers behind me, let's do
I'm
that
running for this
with the
edge,
Sony
try and get
Dual
in and then
CT
slide
because
down.
It really shows off both the power and the versatility of the Neptune CT scanner. Like before, we're gonna mount our device to foam, chuck it in the machine, close the hatch.
There is a tower right here too.
There's a jump tower over there.
I don't think that's ever gonna get old. Once all that's done, we get this.
If you can make this Adrian.
Think of this less like a picture, more like a shadow of the controller, but instead of a light shadow, it's an X-ray shadow. So the lighter areas here are where the less dense materials like plastic allow much of the X-ray radiation to pass through to our sensor. The darker areas, like these ones, are the denser, usually metal parts, like these screws or these giant vibration motors that much more effectively block our photons. We then take hundreds of these images from different angles and upload them to Lumafield's Voyager cloud platform, which does a bunch of maths to spit out this. And I don't think this is ever gonna get old either. This is so cool. This scan would have taken a couple of hours. And you can actually see here, we can flip our way through all of the raw X-rays that made up our 3D image. Then, by moving the attenuation slider,
Okay, somehow
we
we're
can
in.
look at the different densities of materials in the controller. For instance, if we slide it all the way over, we can see
I don't even
the
have
air
weapons I like,
around the controller. And then going
I
the
work
other
with what I'm
way,
given.
it removes the plastic first, and then we can keep on going until it's broken
I'm
down
a
to just
survivor.
steel
I'm
and
not
solder.
gonna give
It
up.
offers up a number of different views that can be extremely helpful depending on what you want to see. The one we're looking at here allows us to go through the controller layer by layer, so we can see the exact density of the
They're gonna be right on
capacitors
the
on
other side of this
trackpad,
building.
for example. We can see the voltage on the battery, something that you
I mean, there's 13
definitely
squads, so
can't
there's a lot of
examine
people out
safely
there.
They're here, they're in the
under
building with us.
circumstances. And we can even look inside the rumble motor to see how it's built. That
Well,
is
I'm playing back here.
cool. We've been having an absolute field day scanning basically everything that'll fit in the machine, like this Buzz Lightyear from the Mom and Pop Tech Shop.
And earned an upgrade too.
There's his
Now
two
that's an
Infinity and
upgrade.
Beyond voice box. We also did this high heel shoe when we were trying to figure out how to mount an adorable, scary mouth to the bottom of it, a Ubiquiti access point to have a look at their antenna configuration, and this power supply to see if we can use the Neptune to non-destructively inspect solder joint quality. The answer is sort of-ish. But let's back up a bit. Aren't CT scanners
There's a robot
for
thing right here you
medical
can take advantage of.
applications, and why doesn't this one look like a donut?
Who are you talking to?
While the main principles are the
How
same
could I take
for a
advantage of it?
field and a medical CT scanner,
'Cause it's right
there's
here.
one main difference between the two.
Teaming on the bridge.
In the Luma field, we rotate the object, while in a medical CT scanner, we rotate the scanner itself. Also, those things freaking rip. And for a good reason. Humans are not great at staying still for a very long time, and this is especially true of their heart and their lungs. So a human scanner needs to be able to do a full 360-degree scan in a fraction of a second, or the motion blur from your organs doing inconvenient things like keeping you alive is going to ruin the image. Another reason medical CT scans go so fast is radiation. An X-ray machine creates ionizing radiation, which can potentially lead to inconveniences like cancer if you're exposed for too long. So doctors are usually willing to give up some accuracy if it reduces how long a patient has to stay in there. Finally, since humans aren't particularly dense, medical CT scanners also aren't
I'm down to one over there.
powerful. The Luma field, though, by contrast,
Over where?
is powerful
Oh,
enough
yep,
to
I see it moving in.
through steel. So, do not your hand here ever at all. Non-living objects, though, like this screwdriver, available on lttstore.com, don't move unexpectedly.
He's trying to run in there on you.
Can be exposed to X-rays pretty much indefinitely without concern. And the easiest way to keep them in there is floral foam. As the name
Fall back a
suggests,
little bit.
it's
I don't got
designed to
shields for
hold
this.
flowers, but it also happens to work
I just
great
made my
for
drop.
CT
There's shields
scanning,
in there.
Since its extremely low density makes it virtually invisible in scans. One note is that it's very important to place your object at a slight angle because flat surfaces can't be seen.
We should move around then if we're not going to stay there and fight
Now
that
that we've got
out.
our object secured, we can place it on the table and begin setting up our scan. What we want to do is line it up as best we can with our X-ray emitter. The X-rays leave here, and they go across the machine in a cone shape. So we get the highest detail very close to the emitter right here. Oh, I bumped it with my shoulder. We get the highest detail very close to the emitter right here, and as you guys just saw, the table can be reconfigured. It can move up, down, left, right, and closer and farther from the emitter. The problem with being in close is that we sacrifice maximum object size. So we could do
We're
something
dropping
like this
barrels.
right around here, but if we wanted to scan something as large as Buzz here, we can, but he's going to have to go way at the back of the chamber, and we are going to give up some detail. After the X-rays pass through our object, they hit this piece of carbon fiber right here called the scintillator. The scintillator turns our X-rays into visible light for two reasons. The first reason is that X-rays are famous for going through things, which include image sensors. I assume that's that. Yes, that checks out. And two, image detectors for visible light are cheap. But we only have 3 of them cheap, so scintillator it is. Anyway, we can guess that the screwdriver is gonna look good right about here. Close the door and give her a look-see. What are the odds I nailed this? Oh, I didn't, but hey, remember this? Neat. Now that we've ensured that we're not going to cut off our object over the entire rotational range, we're going to go ahead and set our scan parameters to 10 minutes. Pretty good one. And then we click Optimize and Start Scan. Now, for most of the scans that we do here, the machine is going to take 900 individual X-rays, slightly rotating the object, then pausing for each exposure. Super quick scans, like the one we're doing right now, though, are going to keep the center table slowly rotating for the entire scan in order to save some time. Hey, it's done! Which I guess raises a question. Was it safe for us to be standing here while it was doing that? Aren't X-rays, radiation? Okay, well first, I just want to clarify that although the Luma field does produce ionizing radiation, it's not radioactive. So that means the second the beam is turned off, there is zero radiation from both the machine itself and from anything that was inside it. So the only real concern is preventing X-rays from escaping from the machine while it's on. But as it turns out, that's pretty simple. You just cover the whole thing in lead. So much lead, in fact, that we had to rent a special heavy-duty forklift in order to unload this thing. At the back is 3/8-inch lead plating, and then around all the other sides is a 1/4 inch of lead, all of which is verified during installation to have no radiation leaks. There's, in fact, so much lead around this thing that while the scanner is on, you can stand right beside it and experience a reduction in the amount of radiation that you're receiving because it will block radiation from the sun, the radioactive materials in the ground below you, and even that banana that your colleague is eating.
My devious plan to poison Linus is foiled again.
And also his insides. Wow, all things considered, the quality of this is pretty okay. Like, obviously, it's not as good as the longer scans, but between the reconstruction and the raw X-rays themselves, there's a good chance that even a quick scan like this can tell us what we want to know. Like, we can see that, a bit is missing, so we managed to spot that, but there's also a lot that this scan can't tell us. Like, you can see the plastic around the bits here is just kind of a mess, and there's no real detail in the ratchet. So let's try this again, but this time we're going to mess around with the manual settings first. The main reason that the plastic in our first scan looks so strange is a phenomenon called beam hardening. The X-ray source in our Luma field produces polychromatic X-rays, which is to say that we have a range of low energy and high energy photons that are getting shot across the scanner. The problem is the low energy photons get absorbed first, while the high-energy photons get through, meaning that the first layer of material is really going to show up darker than the last bit of material. This is the weirdness that we saw. There's two main ways around this. First is to use monochromatic systems, where all of the light is at the same energy level. Unfortunately, achieving this requires a synchrotron or a linear accelerator. Why do those sound so expensive? Because they are. So, instead, LumaField simply gets rid of most of the low-energy photons by using one of the copper filters that you're going to see, there we go, on this wheel. From 0.5 to
this one's broke right here.
on how hard you want the beam. The trade-off, though, is the harder the filter, the less exposed.
There's a third party on that. There's a third party on that.
It's actually pretty similar to how an ND filter works on a film camera, which, if you think about it, can actually be said for all of the settings on the Luma field. Let's set up the screwdriver scan again, but manually. 46 seconds, 2.5 millimeter, and
Well, that's
scan.
that.